science fiction, you all know that eventually people are going to complain about their favourite sci-fi franchise. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the big ones. Mass Effect, Star Wars, Star Trek, and Halo. Duncannuva, why are you mentioning these ones in particular? Well, nowadays, they are the four biggest. And I have been seeing a lot of videos, and even though I'm playing on a PlayStation 4, there's really no point in showing it, of Star Wars versus Halo versus Star Trek versus Mass Effect. And, well, I thought I'd just make a, bit of a thing. You all need to understand one thing. Each universe is set in a different timeline. Each timeline is vastly different to that of the next. Star Wars use lasers and have lack of shields. Whilst Halo has plasma-based weaponry and shields. We literally are in a time when a lot of people are complaining about which sci-fi faction could beat the others. Oh, good luck to them too.
Attack the B point! Attack the C point!
I have watched many sci-fi things and started out actually liking Star Trek, and then Star Wars, and then eventually grew on to Halo. I'm not too fond of the Mass Effect series.
Attack the A point! Defend the B point!
And whilst I get it that science fiction fans like putting their favourite, vehicles together, it's something I have considered on doing. But things like the Skyrim versus the AT-AT, the entire Covenant army versus the entire First Order, a CSO class supercarrier versus the Excelsior. That one's no fight. What do you mean, Duncan?
Enemy forces have captured a zone.
Allow me to explain. The Excelsior is a very large ship. Yes, we know that it's a superstar destroyer. The Covenant CSO is also a very large ship, and in fact, at 30 kilometers long, it's longer than any ship in the Star Wars universe. And I know what you're thinking. What do you care? Actually, I care quite a bit. Okay.
Allied forces have captured a zone.
Oh, by the way, if anybody knows what mistakes I've been doing in this match, do leave them in the comments. The CSO class supercarrier was a very large vessel built for destroying planets. In fact, it does a better job at it than the Star Destroyer ever did. It's a very large ship and isn't afraid to get dirty. Around the trenches. Panzer, what is that? Panzer 4E.
We have taken the initiative. Need cover! Load in! Ready!
Yeah. I mean, I kind of deserve that for being a dick, but oh well. The Covenant CSO class supercarrier was so to build a slipspace bomb to destroy it. Which cost them a Spartan 3, well a Spartan 2. Because of a massive vessel this size, the Excelsior doesn't have the firepower, it doesn't have the men to even consider denting a CSO class. For instance, a CSO class will only need to sit above the Excelsior and then glass it. This is something I've always talked about and have always enjoyed talking about.
A little more effort and victory will be yours. Enemy forces have captured a zone. On target.
A competent CSO weapon has enough firepower to turn any ship it fights into molten slag. But what about something like the entire Covenant army versus the First Order, or the entire AT-80 versus a Covenant vessel, or versus a Scarab? First of all, what the hell have you been smoking? Second of all, interesting.
Enemy forces have captured a zone. Requesting for artillery fire.
Another thing is, the Government's Scarab has a heavy enough gun to reduce buildings to slag.
It serves him right. Attention to the map.
So what does this mean? Well, first of all, we've got to take a look at the different universes and the different weapons and the different things they've got. Halo has plasma, Star Trek has proton torpedoes, and other fancy stuff. And Captain James Kirk and Picard.
Attention to the designated grid zone.
Star Wars has the Empire,
Allied forces have captured a zone.
and other crap like that.
Taking the initiative.
Third of all, Mass Effect uses lasers as well. Many universes use different weapons and different means of destruction. For instance, the Death Star from from Star Wars. Great. But the other thing is why do we even bother trying to mix and match these at all?
On target. Next target.
Halo, each universe is very different from the next, and really there's no point in trying to say, oh, this one's better than the next. Of course, we often get confused, and one of the last things I do want to mention and touch very heavily on, mother trucker.
If we don't do something fast, the enemy will win. The target has been destroyed. Need backup.
So which universe would win out in an old-fashioned brawl? Well, let's take one of the most iconic ships from each universe and put them all together. From the Mass Effect universe, we of course have the Normandy SR2, appearing in more games than the SR1 and the SR and the Tempest. We of course do get to see many other things. And of course one of the many other things is, well, just this. A lot of people do often say, well, it's true. So now let's go on to something a bit more. What do you mean more? So from Mass Effect we have got the Normandy SR2, and everybody knows this, and it's going to be the fully upgraded version of it. From Star Trek we're going to have the USS Enterprise, and which one are we going to go for? We're going to go from the movieverse, because everybody knows the movies. Yeah, so obviously we're going to have that with the Captain James Kirk of that universe, because we're going to come under ship for the Normandy. From Star Wars, we're going to have a Star Destroyer. I mean, I know I could go with the Millennium Falcon or any vessel, but really, what's the first ship we see? Well, the Tantive V, but the first real evil ship we see is the Imperial Star Destroyer. So obviously that's going to be there. It's going to be an Imperial 2 Star Destroyer. And from the Halo universe, a lot of you would think the Pillar of Autumn, but yes, that is iconic. I'm going to have to go with the Shadow of Intent from Halos 2, 3, and from the book as well, which is a CAS class super carrier. All of these ships meet, and all of them begin. The Normandy, being a human-Turian hybrid, is a stealth vessel and is able to observe in peace. Whilst the Shadow of Intent is quickly sought as the more dangerous threat among the three captains, and all three of them devise their own plans on taking the vessel down. The ship, which is the Enterprise, closes in quick to within torpedo range and launches torpedoes, which are quickly destroyed by the Covenant vessel. The Enterprise is then targeted and destroyed by the Covenant's torpedoes. Duncan, how could you do that? The Enterprise is able to withstand punishment, yes. But throughout many times we do see the vessel being badly damaged. Under normal circumstances. The Enterprise is a very tough ship and is able to do much damage. But it isn't that good. And the shields quickly fail, unable to get out of there, and she gets destroyed by several plasma turrets and plasma torpedoes. However, the TIE fighters from and the TIE bombers and a couple of TIE interceptors from the Star Destroyer are quickly launched and intercepted by the Normandy and Seraph fighters launched from the Covenant carrier. The Covenant carrier, or the Covenant supercarrier, stays at a near optimal percentage and is able to pick up the Normandy. See, Covenant vessels were able to detect stealth ships and develop a much better technology. Although, really, to be honest, in the book, the Halo Captain Keyes is able to ram and destroy a Covenant vessel, a Prowler. That means that they're not that good at it, and nor humanity. And all we get from the Mass Effect universe is in-game dialogue stating that, well, we're not invisible per se, but we do keep space radiation from evicting from the ship. So that means that the ship is still in system, and its heat signatures are hidden, but because it's open-fired with its guns to destroy enemy fighters, it is alerted its position away to both the Covenant carrier and the Covenant cruiser and the Imperial Star Destroyer. The Imperial Star Destroyer aims and fires an ionic blast at the Normandy. Ion cannons being able to disable any ship. Duncan, wouldn't that mean? Listen, ion blasters use ion particles. And no ship is able to stop it. It's basically like a small EMP. The Normandy is hit by the ion blasters and is quickly destroyed by a laser plasma torpedo from the Covenant carrier, the Covenant from the Shadow of Intent, and the Imperial Star Destroyer's lasers. The ship explodes, and everybody is killed, including Commander Shepard. And no, there is no shady organization to save him this time. Cerberus? Are you gonna come? Nope. That just leaves the two biggest ships. The Covenant cruiser, the Covenant supercarrier, moves forward, and uses its massive size to begin destroying TIE fighters, TIE bombers, and TIE interceptors. Along with the Seraph fighters on board, the crew can only watch as their ion particle cannons have to recharge, and they do in the actual universe. Ion cannons do need a long recharge time. They fire every laser, but it bounces harmlessly off the shield, shooting the engines out and then aiming for the core. The Covenant carrier sits above the Star Destroyer and glasses it. And that's what happened. And yes, I know I probably screwed up with names, but the Covenant supercarrier, the CAS class, is a very tough vessel. It is able to do quite a bit of damage to its opponents, and take a lot of damage in return. Let's not forget the Shadow of Intent has survived quite a bit, and took impacts, including a bit from High Charity, which was a space station. Well, that's that. In the end, it basically comes down to tactics, advantages, and the crew. Commander Shepard's Normandy, although it has a diverse range of crew, they've only fought vessels down to the size. Let's not forget, they got demolished in Mass Effect 1 via a collector cruiser, and was nearly destroyed by Reapers and the Geth Dreadnought. Whilst Imperial Star Destroyers, even though they're massively in size, we see them getting just greased, owned, in Star Wars fiction, and in video games, and in movies. The Enterprise has destroyed itself, and been destroyed so many times, it ain't funny. Whilst the Shadow of Intent has taken punishment, and shrugged it off. In fact, the only surviving vessels in this is the Imperial Star Destroyer because of its number of size, the Shadow of Intent because it's a hero ship, and the Normandy SR2 because it's the Normandy SR2. There's not much more I can say to this, but in a straight out brawl, if they were using weapons, the Covenant carrier would win. Why? Plasma. It's strange, but I do have one thing left to say. If this was a fight between super dreadnoughts and massive battle installations, it would all come down to the math. If it was the Halo installation, it would only need to fire once before it would be the winner, because after it's fired, it's just exterminated every life in the vicinity. This includes if it was fighting against the Death Stars, Starkiller Base, anything from the other two universe. Anyway, I better not keep you guys for too long. Just basically a few tips I want to touch up on. If you're going to do a versus, make sure you do all the research. I've seen very bad verses, and I've seen very good verses. One of the very bad verses is the new First Order Resurgent class destroyers against the UNSC Infinity. The Infinity apparently could not damage the ship enough, and a lot of people in the Halo community and in the Star Wars community informed the person who made that video, well, actually, the UNSC Infinity would be more than capable of destroying the Resurgent class destroyer, Star Destroyer. The AT-AT versus Skyrim, well, the AT-AT is an armoured, all-terrain armoured transport. What? AT-AT, all-terrain armoured transport. Against a battle-made siege equipment. The AT-AT would do some damage, on board the ship would go, aim at the head. Fire! Into that. And Master Chief versus Kylo Ren, guys. See, Kylo Ren uses the Force. If he had no Force, Master Chief would walk up to him, poke him, and he'd have 3 broken bones and bruised muscles. See, people keep forgetting this, and this is what I do want to touch heavily on. If you're going to use a Spartan, whether it be a Spartan 2, 3, 4, remember that they have had more training, more advanced training, and armor that moves. This is coming from a person who goes, oh, yeah. You can use the Force for so much, but even Force users get tired. You can be a badass, and you can get tired. You can be a military-trained super soldier and still get tired. Let's not forget, what's the heaviest thing the Force is? Canonly, not much. In fact, I don't think in canon there has been anyone able to do as much damage as either Darth Vader, Kylo Ren. Well, I don't think anybody's been able to do anything other than lift very large objects around. Yeah, what has Master Chief done? You see the elephant in Halo 3? There's a little Easter egg with that thing. Hold right bumper to flip. Wait, how the hell did you manage this? Master Chief is still able to flip that thing. Let's take something. Oh. But what about a TIE Fighter? Well, yeah. But what about Starkiller? Actually, Starkiller's Legions. And yes, I know there is a picture of him ripping a Star Destroyer out of the atmosphere, but Legions, people. That's the difference between canon and Legions. That's no longer canon. Although I do wish a lot of it would come back into canon. Anyway, I'm Duncannuva saying thank you for watching. I'm going to be going off. I'll make a whole list of videos. I won't make a tips video for versus people in the near future. I'm Duncannuva saying you in spirit, and good night. Oh, and do let me know down in the comments below if you want me to do an update video. Let me know in the description below, in the comment section below, what videos you'd like to see. If you'd like to see me do more history videos, then sure, leave a like down there. If you want me to do more gaming videos with other people, including members from my squadron, let me know down in the comment section below. And always, I will catch you guys later. I'm Duncan, you in spirit, and good night.